Now my partner Roscoe like bro.
Human monsters in the confessional box. More than once I have seen women fainting in confessional box who told me afterwards that the necessity of speaking to an unmarried man on certain things on which the common laws of decency ought to forever have sealed their lips had almost killed them. Not hundreds, but thousands of times I have heard from the lips of dying girls as well as married women the awful words, "I am forever lost." All my past confessions and communions have been so many sacrilegious. I have never dared to answer correctly the questions of my confessors. Shame has sealed my lips and damned my soul. When, very early one morning, I had begun to hear the confessions, one of those unfortunate victims of the confessor's depravity came to me, and in the midst of many tears and sobs, she told me with great details what I repeat here in a few lines. You're going to see what these Catholic priests do to these girls and do to these wives and do to these kids. I was only 9 years old when my first confessor began to do very criminal things with me, every time I was at his feet confessing my sins. At first, I was ashamed and much disgusted, but soon after I became so depraved that I was looking eagerly for every opportunity of meeting him, either in his own house or in the church, in the vestry, and in many times his own garden when it was very dark at night. The priest did not remain very long. He was removed, to my great regret, to another place where he died. So this old-ass man, this old-ass priest, abusing this little girl who would come to confessions, was moved. Of course, they just move him around, and he ended up dying. He was succeeded by another who seemed at first to be a very holy man. I made to him a general confession with, it seemed to me, a sincere desire to give up forever that sinful life. So in confidentiality, she went to this new priest who was over her while she was confessing again, and with great bravery, she told him what her and the other priest were doing, thinking that it was going to change and she would be healed from all that. But she was wrong. But I fear my confession became a cause of sin to that good priest. So she's blaming herself. She's saying, maybe if I didn't tell him, she's thinking that it corrupted him by telling him what she used to do, when in reality, all these motherfuckers are just corrupt. He was going to probably try to do it to you anyway. That's really sad. That's really, really sad. For not long after my confession was finished, he declared to me, in the confessional, his love, with such passionate words that he soon brought me down again into my former criminal habits with him. So this is priest number 2 that she started doing stuff with. This lasted 6 years when my parents removed to this place, so she moved. I was very glad of it, for I hoped that being away from him, I should not be any more a cause of sin to him, and that I might begin a better life. He was probably blackmailing her with that. Both these priests were probably blackmailing her with that, saying it's your fault, and if you say anything, I'll just say it's you. I'm not the devil. You're the devil. It's not my fault you come into my confession box looking the way you do. Mind you, this is a kid. But get this. But the 4th time I went to confess to my new confessor, he invited me to go to his room where we did things so disgusting together that I do not know how to confess them. This is now the 3rd priest she's doing this stuff with. And at this point, it went on from when she was a little girl, when she first started going, to now, when she's about to get married, as it's going to say here. It was 2 days before my marriage, and the only child I have had is the fruit of that sinful hour. Now, there's a story that I didn't read that comes previously before this. It talks about how a lot of the kids, and it's very, very, very common for these kids in the churches and these Catholic churches to be secret children of the priest. A lot of these priests will go to the house of these people in the churches to eat dinner there, to commune with them. And that priest will know damn well those kids running around those house, one of those kids running around that house is his child. The wife will know, the priest will know, the father won't know, the baby won't know. And you're going to see in this story how far they'll even go, even if that is the case. These people are sick and disgusting, okay? And get this. Listen to what she has to say. So she just says the only child she has is a product of what her and the priest that she would go to confession with was doing. So that is not her husband's child. That's the priest's child. And she knows that, and the priest knows that. And guess what this priest still tries to do? After my marriage, I continued the same criminal life with my confessor. He was the friend of my husband. See how they work? We had many opportunities of being together, not only when I was going to confess, but when my husband was absent and my child was at school. You mean our child? It was evident to me that many other women were as miserable and criminal as I myself. So they're doing this to multiple women and children in these churches. This sinful intercourse with my confessor went on till God Almighty stopped it with a real thunderbolt. My dear only daughter had gone to confess. Now, this daughter, remember, the one child she had was the daughter of that priest too. Listen to what this priest does to his daughter. My dear only daughter had gone to confess and received the Holy Communion. Holy, yeah, whatever. As she came back from church much later than I expected, I inquired the reason that had kept her so long. She then threw herself into my arms and with convulsive cries said, "Dear mother, do not ask me to go to confess anymore." Oh, if you could only know what the confessor asked me when I was at his feet, and if you could only know what he has done with me and has forced me to do with him when he had me alone in his parlor. This lady's daughter was also the daughter of that same priest of what he was trying to do. So he just tried to do something awful to his daughter. He knew that was his daughter too. The girl didn't know that was her father. The girl didn't know that the priest was her father, but the priest knew that was his daughter. And he tried to destroy another lineage, his own blood, another generation of his own seed. This is how depraved these people are. And you're going to see what happens with his consequences for doing this. My poor child could not speak any longer. She fainted in my arms. As soon as she recovered, without losing a minute, I dressed myself, and full of inexpressible rage, I directed my steps towards the parsonage. But before leaving my house, I had concealed under my shawl a sharp butcher's knife to stab and kill the villain who had destroyed my dearly beloved child. So she's very selfish. Selfless. She said, he may have got to me, but you're not going to get to my daughter. You're not going to continue this on another generation. She said, you already got me and I've already been destroyed by this, so you're not going to do this again. But before leaving my house, I had concealed, But before leaving my house, I had concealed under my shawl a sharp butcher's knife to stab and kill the villain who had destroyed my dearly beloved child. Fortunately for that priest, God changed my mind before I entered his room. My words to him were few and sharp. You are a monster, I said to him. Not satisfied to have destroyed me, you must also destroy my own dear child, which is yours also. Shame upon you. I had come with a knife to put an end to your infamies, but so short a punishment would be too mild a one for such a monster. I want you to live, that you may bear upon your head the curse of the two unsuspecting and unguarded friends whom you have so cruelly deceived and betrayed. But know that if you are not away from this place before the end of this week, I will reveal everything to my husband, and you may be sure that he will not let you live 24 hours longer. For he sincerely thinks that your daughter is his. He will be the avenger of her honor. I go this very day to denounce you to the bishop, that he may take you away from this parish. You have so shamelessly polluted. The priest threw himself at my feet with tears, asked my pardon, imploring me not to denounce him to the bishop, saying, "Don't tell anybody, please just don't tell anybody." And promising that he would change it. Get this, he's going to change his life and begin to live as a good priest now. He's going to be a good priest now. No more touching little kids. No more touching grown women. I'm going to stop right now. I've been addicted to sex my whole life, but now I'm going to stop. But I remained inexorable. I went to the bishop and warned his lordship, which is a mistake too, because the bishop is most likely condoning this and knows what's going on. And you're going to see that that's absolutely the case of what they do. I went to the bishop and warned his lordship of the consequences that would follow if he kept that curate any longer in this place, as he seemed inclined to do. So the bishop wanted to keep him here. The bishop said, well, let's just throw this under the rug and we're going to keep him here. And she says, no, I'm going to go tell my husband and he's going to go slit that man's throat. And probably yours too if you don't get him out of here. He said, fine. But before the 8 days had expired, he was put at the head of another parish, not very far away from here. This is what they do, even in the modern day. If you read up, or if you look up any Catholic Church stories they just did, I think, a historic payout. The Catholic Church has had a historic payout of damn near $1 billion. I think it was around $1 billion where they paid to families all around the country, where they pay, not even all around, I think it was all around the country, let alone not even the world. And this was in recent times, like people that were old enough to go back and rat them out. Not even talking about these back in the days when there was no cameras, no cell phones, no nothing. So they've already paid out billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. Think about how many people they unalive to keep this stuff as secret. And I've made videos previously where it tells another story in here about how underneath a nunnery, near a sewage system that led out of a nunnery, when they drained it, they found hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of skeletons and babies. And everyone's like, where the hell are all these babies coming from? And everybody knew where those babies came from and what happened to those babies and why there are so many skeletons of babies in the sewage system next to a nunnery. But they threatened the Catholic Church. They said nobody in the town would speak up because they knew what the church would do to them. They knew exactly what the church would do to anybody that spoke up. So let's finish this story off, this very, very sad story. But before the 8 days had expired, he was put at the head of another parish, not very far away from him, swept in under the rug. And he got, like they do with cops as well, they do this with police officers. Shoot somebody, get caught for abusing somebody, hush hush, pay off the victims, send him to another place, let him keep his job and let him keep on doing another evil thing in another town, another person's problem. Mr. Chiniquy says, the reader will perhaps like to know what became of that priest. I would like to know as well. Did he get any justice? He remained at the head of that beautiful parish, Beaumont, where I knew for a fact he continued to destroy his penitents till a few years before he died, with a reputation of a good, amiable man and a holy confessor. So he went to another parish where he did the same stuff until the day he died. They said a few years before he died. So he probably was in such bad health, he couldn't even get his legs up or get his thing up to even do anything to these kids anymore. That's the only reason he stopped. It was because of his old, decrepit age. And it shows a picture here I'm going to show you. You are a monster. This is from the book, The Devil in the Church and His Snares to Destroy Our Public Schools.
This is a full accounting. There are details of repeated, tortuous, terrorizing, depraved abuse.
The investigation uncovered the extent of the power and authority the clergy used to exploit the trust of the children. They told their victims the abuse was God's will. Some threatened that the victim or the victim's family would go to hell if they told anyone. They attempted to normalize sexual behavior as roughhousing. The report cites a case where a sexually abused child came to a priest for counseling. His parents so trusting, they let him spend the night. The report says the priest raped him for 5 years. A distraught father of a young girl demanded a priest be removed. The priest confessed to an uncontrollable attraction to young girls and a yielding to temptation from time to time. The archdiocese quietly got him into psychiatric treatment and reassigned him to desk work where he would not be exposed to temptation.
It's not only churches, it is schools associated with the archdiocese. So the institutions associated with the respective archdioceses are the target of our investigations.
In the last 7 decades, more than 4,800 children were sexually abused within the Catholic Church in Portugal. It is a harrowing figure, released by an independent commission, and was based on 512 direct complaints. However, the commission's coroner says that there are likely more victims.